Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. Once again, I'm so glad you chose to join us. I know you're busy. I know you have people nipping at your heels, fires to put out, jobs to get done, invoices to do, bills to pay, all those things that a busy business owner has. But thank you for taking time from your day and spending it with us. Today's guest is Joshua Monge. Is that how you say it?
Monge, but that was close.
Monge. Okay, I said that incorrectly. Joshua Monge. And he is going to come and talk with us about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is processes and systems. Now, don't, wait a minute. I saw you going, oh no, she's getting on one of those topics. Don't you take off now. You hang on. We're going to make this fun. We're going to make it exciting and interesting. And I know you're going to learn something today. So, welcome, Joshua.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk processes with you in a painless way, well,
In a
hopefully. So,
painless way. And we'll try not to get too geeky about it.
yeah. Okay, we're gonna try. There's the key
We're
word
gonna,
there.
we'll try. So I know that when I work with home service businesses, when I use the P word, the processes word, they kind of get this look on their face. It's like, oh, I don't want to go there
Yeah,
because they know they don't have them documented. Or if they are documented, they're not documented well.
yeah,
And they're too busy to stop and do it.
yeah.
Help. What
Well,
do we do?
I mean, that's unfortunately the cost of business. I think, at some point when someone is starting on the entrepreneurship journey, I think one of the things that maybe people aren't told when they get on that pathway. By the way, you're going to have to start showing your work and documenting some of this because you're building an organization that actually has value beyond just the paycheck you get or the revenue that's coming in. And you need to treat it as such, especially if you want it to continue to grow because you have things like taxes and insurance and all these responsibilities that come along with owning a business. And so I kind of think of process documentation kind of like math class when you had to like show your work. Just do the work, show it. You're going to get the results, but spend a little time and just kind of show your work and kind of get that documented. So
And I'm going to put a caveat in there. The owner of this company doesn't have to be the one who documents all these things.
you just took away one of my little cheap tricks, kind of hacks.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great. This is why I think we got along so well. Is yeah, have your team document what they do. That's people always, how do we get started? Have someone that's already doing the job just say, hey, I'm going to give you an hour, sit down and write out what you do and how you do it. Just
Well,
help me do that. So then you can take vacation, and we can have somebody do this. Or if we identify things that you're doing that you don't need to be doing, like maybe we can get you an assistant, or maybe you want to move on to another part of the company, we'll be able to find someone to actually take care of this. And so see it as a sense of stewardship and get those people to kind of document their processes as they're going through it.
and I know sometimes you get pretty hard pushback from your team. It's like they want to protect it and hold it tight. This is, I'm afraid somebody else will get in on my stuff and I won't have a job. That, that scarcity mentality creeps
Oh
in.
yeah.
Instead of looking at it as if my duties, my tasks, my job is documented, I can take a vacation.
Yeah.
It's okay if I have to be out sick for a little while, or if I have a family emergency, somebody else can step in. They may not do it 100%, but they can get it at least 80, 85, 90% done so that when I come back, I don't have this mountain sitting there and I stopped all process in the company because I was gone.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the challenges, with the small businesses. You have those key employees that are really good, and I've met too many business owners that were like, "Man, if it wasn't for this guy right here or this gal right here, we'd be screwed." If you've ever said that, you definitely need to document what that person's doing
Yes.
because if someone gets a better offer, they win the lottery, or something happens with their family, or whatever the situation is, yeah, you need to be able to have that person. You're never going to replace them fully, but you need someone to be able to do some of those works or some of those tasks.
Mhm.
And I actually have it on my website, barriers to process change. And so that's one of the barriers is when people identify with the job, either they want to be a knowledge keeper and they think, oh, I'm the only one that can hold this knowledge, and anyone that takes it from me, then I lose value. That's you have to address that. Or
Mhm.
the other one is they identify with the role. And so they're like, no, I am the guy that does this, or I'm the gal that does this. And so when you want to look at it or change it or poke at it, they think that you're trying to change them or who they are. And so you need to be able to address that. So I have that little document and it has the nature of the problem and then some solutions. So
Oh, good.
yeah, they can take a look at that and kind of figure
You
out how to
bet.
address with
Yeah.
that.
And I want to just add in there that I see people rolling their eyes about, I'm going to have to stop and handwrite this. There's other ways other than handwriting. What are some ideas?
Okay, so I am very much of whatever it is that allows you to be creative and move yourself forward, just do it. So with this process, I've had people do voice memos. They're on the job and they're just talking to themselves and they're like, okay, time to pull the hammer out and tie this, and make sure that this is set up this way. Hey, record yourself. That's
Mhm.
great because now we used to use staff to do this, but now we can use AI to kind of cut through all of that noise and really identify the steps. And so we've got a tool that can do that. So record yourself. Um, pen and paper, listen, there's nothing wrong with pen and paper. If you write like you're a serial killer or a pharmacist or doctor, that's okay too. Um, AI is getting pretty good at recognizing that, and you can get someone else to read your handwriting and type it up. I'm sure there's people that are supporting you and love you very much that understand that you write like a crazy person. That's okay. Somebody can translate that for you. And at least it's a starting point for us to work from. The other thing you can do is if you're on the computer, you can actually record yourself. And so open up Zoom or open up Fathom or whatever program you have and record yourself doing those steps. And even if it's not perfect, at least it's a starting point, and then you can get that edited down and now you've got something documented.
Look at all those choices we just gave you.
Seriously.
Yeah, there's more than one way to skin this cat of
Yes.
getting things documented. Because I know not everybody's comfortable one or the other. I know a lot of Loom videos get done,
Oh
and
yeah,
AI
Loom's a
will
great option.
transcribe those and put them into steps and stuff for you. So there's a lot of things that you can do that will allow you to get these things documented so that somebody can be gone. Or you yourself as the owner can take a 4 week vacation. What would that be like? Get
Oh
out
my
of your
gosh.
business for 4 weeks. I know
And
most
come back and
organizations,
it's actually still running.
yes, it's still running. The wheels have not fallen off that bus. Like, what an amazing goal to shoot for. But to do that, you have to have your processes documented. See, told you we'd make this fun. As we were talking offline, we moved on to the topic of exiting your business. And when we
Yeah.
exit a business, are we trying to sell a business that's just basically a job? Or are we trying to sell a business and get maximum payment for that business? And why in the world would processes make a difference?
Oh, that is a great question. So I definitely am very passionate about this, and I have to say there is always an exit. Unless you're living forever and you're gonna do this for the infinite life, there's gonna be an exit. So, and planning for that and being intentional with it, I think is super important. And when you go to try to sell your business, the question is very much, can this business run without you? And if the answer is no, then you're going to have a difficult time selling your business because essentially you're selling a job. And if the job doesn't pay very well and it's long hours and it's all of this stress, why would anybody want to buy that? I just to throw that out there. But if you can get the business to where it runs mostly without you, and you've got teams and you've got job descriptions and you've got set processes on how you do things, then you get those documented and you get those in an operations book. Then and I'm holding a for some people that I fits on podcasts, I'm holding a binder. If you can put all of those in a binder and then go to sell your business, all of a sudden the business valuation person is going to look and go, wow, you actually have everything documented on how how that sausage is made, to use another analogy. And so we have the recipes. You're selling now, you're selling your client list, you're selling your recipes, you're selling that talent that you have that's going to transition with the new owner. You now have all of these components that are making a viable business that will if you do the documentation on that, it ties it all together really nicely and it shows people how it's made, and you can actually increase the valuation that you get. So when you go to sell your business, you can actually ask for, 3x, 4x, 5x multiplier. The more X's you want, the better documentation you need to have that, and the less the owner has to be involved in all the decisions.
Mhm. Wow, that is a nice reason right there. Just start today and start documenting some processes. Because some people want to exit in a couple years, others are maybe 15 or 20 years out. It's
Yeah.
not too soon to start documenting things.
I think it's a great idea, and especially those people that are just starting out too. If you start the process of documenting a little bit at a time, all those I mean, I'm a seasoned entrepreneur. I know you are too. Remember those early days where you were struggling to find clients, struggling to
Yeah.
find work, and struggling to figure out how to do all this stuff and manage it all? Well, imagine if you were to document all of that and know that all that blood, sweat, and tears kind of in the initial part of that business, that there's a payout in the future that you can actually exit. And so everything you're doing now, the extra hours, the missed appointments, the missed family time, all of that is being invested into building a business of value that will clearly be able to exit. I mean, I that's my passion with small businesses is
Mhm.
you've got to know that what the value that you have and what you provide in the community, and just do the work, a little bit of extra work, and you can get that value back at a future time.
Well, I want to come back to those who maybe have only been in business for a few years. Taking the time right now to start developing those processes and documenting how things are done in your business can only increase your success, your profitability over time. I come across clients all the time in my coaching business where they've not documented any of this and they're a train wreck. And then it takes us a couple years of hard work to clean that up and get this business running and get a team that's working well together and then start documenting some processes. That's a huge job if you wait, you've been in business 10 years and you've got this chaotic mess. That's a really hard job versus if you
Oh,
start when you're younger in business and can build it as you go.
well, I mean, it's, anyone in the trades, having a true line, right? Like, and knowing that straight edge is really straight, that's really important. And so as you're building or things are coming together, every time you have small deviations here and there, by the time those all accumulate, you wind up with something that you can't even, hang anything in the right place, or you nothing is where it's supposed to be because there's been all of these small um, deviations from kind of this core process that needs to be in place and documented.
So that's kind of my personal play is start today. Start documenting. I know
It's a
it's
great
not
idea.
comfortable. I know it's not fun,
Yeah.
but gamify it somehow.
Oh my
Today I'm
gosh.
going to get two. Maybe
I
tomorrow or next week I can get three of them. Gamify it. Reward yourself. Reward your team. Do something so that they have a reason to get it done and that they'll work on it. I know in my own office, it took us almost a year just to get our basic processes all documented. It was a time-consuming project. I had no idea how long it would take. I thought, oh, we'll have this out in a couple months. Yeah,
yeah.
wrong. No, you still had to do everything that you do in business. And so you had to do that in and around everything. It took us a long time.
And did you find that some of the processes that you thought were only a few steps
Oh, definitely.
were actually a little bit longer?
They were, because we have the curse of knowledge. We know how to do what we do. And so we just pop in and just do it. It take me, a couple minutes to do something. Well, when we actually started documenting, what I thought was maybe 5 or 6 or 7 steps turned out to be 15 or 20 or 25 steps because I know what to do when I open a piece of software.
Yeah.
Somebody else needs to be told how to open the software.
Yeah.
You got to start clear back at that point, how to open the software and then how to log in and then how to do that, how to get to the right screen, that type of stuff. So, when I was doing our processes in our office, we used my mom. My mom knew nothing about an accounting firm. My
I love
mom knew
this.
nothing about being in business, but she would come in and she'd empty the trash. She would shred. She would, do light cleaning and things like that for us. And so we used what we called the mom test.
I love the mom test.
We would hand her a process that we had typed up. And one of us, of course, would have to sit beside her because she'd get scared and her hands would start shaking. It's like, I don't know if I can do this. And it's like, it's okay, mom, we got you. But the whole goal was to take somebody who knew nothing about what we were doing. Can you follow this? And 9 times out of 10, she couldn't
Oh my gosh.
because we knew what the next step was and she didn't. So the
That's
mom test, find somebody who knows nothing about what you're doing and bring them in periodically and have them try these things. You'd be surprised the holes that are in them.
uh quick question. What's your mom doing for the rest of the week? Because does she like to travel? I think maybe some of these people could hire her to give them a
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah. She missed her calling back then because she could have. This was about 20 years ago.
Oh,
So,
okay, got
yeah.
it.
Yeah, she's way
Uh,
beyond the ability to do
oh,
that kind of stuff now.
got it, got it. Okay, so not your mom, but definitely someone that doesn't
Yeah,
understand. I think that's a great test. Yeah.
we need a rent-a-mom organization to go business to business and
Oh
try
my
these
gosh.
things.
I love it. I love it. No, it's great. Yeah, I think, where people kind of miss the mark a little bit is they do the documentation, but then they don't revisit it or they don't actually test it. And
Yes.
so I think having that testing in place, if you don't have someone that's completely outside the organization, even getting somebody from a different department or that does a different
Mhm.
job, that's probably a great person to go to right away too. So
Yeah. I know in my own office, we have a front office book, a binder that sits up front. And if my receptionist is gone, I have to go to that binder to see what has to happen each day because I don't
that's
have a clue. She just does it. But heaven forbid if she's gone,
yeah,
I'm so thankful that she's got her basic daily tasks all documented up there.
yeah,
And we can see, okay, we could skip that for a couple of days. Nothing, the wheels won't fall off the bus. We'll be okay.
yeah,
But oh, this one we got to take care of that. So it
yeah,
really helps when somebody goes down sick or goes on vacation or out on maternity leave or whatever those things are. It allows the business to keep moving forward. May not be at
yeah.
100%, but they're moving forward and you can still make things happen.
That's great. That is really, really a good idea. And I think, for those administrative positions and administrative jobs that are kind of the same thing, I'm not trying to diminish those roles, but the things that are the same things over and over again, those things that are kind of what keeps the system rolling and flowing, identifying those and getting those documented is extremely important.
Right?
And yeah, front desk, oh my gosh, that's one of the most key roles when you have a
It
brick and
is.
mortar.
Yeah. Well, when I was out snooping around on your site before we met, you had this beautiful map out there. And I looked at that and went, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about why do you need a map in a business?
So yeah, I have it's called process visualization and process mapping. And the idea is everyone has it in their heads what they're doing. And especially when you're talking about the process, let's say, of onboarding a new client, that's not so much one person's responsibility. There's a
Mhm.
series of steps that happen. And so when you do the visualization, we create different lanes. So those are all the people that are involved. And then we have the different steps, and then we show the relationship to those. And so the example that I have on my website, I show one like the first version. This is a common problem, and I'm not trying to feed the sales versus operations side of things, but this is a common thing. The sales guy does a really good job of closing the client, gets the basic information, sends it over to the customer service team. The customer service team receives the application, but it's missing information. And so then the question is, well, whose job is it to get the missing information? And since it's with customer service, yeah,
We
they
start
point
doing
fingers. But customer service, since it's on their plate, they're going to have to reach out to the customer and follow up with them. The customer is going to be like, I thought I already gave the information to the person. And so there's a delay. Customer service is busy doing the ones that are complete. And so things don't quite get done. Anyway, so with that process, basically there's a delay because the application is not complete. And so you have to figure out how to resolve it. In that workflow, I showed the customer service is trying to do it and it takes time. The second workflow is we made one change to the whole workflow, which was customer service cannot submit an application unless it's 100% complete. If they complete 100% complete applications, the customer service doesn't have to do any follow-up and there's no delay. And if the salesperson did get an application that wasn't complete and they needed the information, they could just circle right back to the customer and be like, oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you for this or this. It's easier to do that right when you're there in front of the client than to go do this 2 3 days later when you're trying to get payroll set up, get the account set up, get the all of the bells and whistles that need to get done. And so when you look at those two processes, I also put the time for each of those steps. We take the whole process and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. We know how long each task takes. So you can see that the first version of that takes a couple days because there's all these weird delays, where the second time it gets done within the same day. And so you save a lot of time by fixing these small little things that people are like, oh, what does it matter that the application's not complete? Well, if you have a whole team of people that are doing that, that's a lot of time that's wasted. And
Okay.
so I think the visualization and when we do these maps and we show the different departments how this work flows and how these jobs are related, we get people to look and go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize like you guys did all this stuff before it gets to me," or "Yeah, yeah, yeah, see, I'm doing 6 things and like that's why I need this done right." And so it's a way for all of us to agree, yes, that's the way we want this done. Or, hey, you know what? I see this and there is some better ways we could do this. Let's change this, let's fix this, let's fix this. And it kind of creates that one document that everyone can look at and they'll and see themselves on the map.
I like that. And then I'm going to throw in, because I do profit coaching, is that when you can cut that from 2 days down to 1 day, you've increased your efficiency, you've plugged a profit leak of inefficiency sitting there, and we go score. Look what we
Yeah.
just did. And if you do that, let's say over the course of the year, they had a couple hundred uncompleted applications. You just knocked off a whole bunch of time that was totally inefficient and that was costing you thousands of dollars because you're
And
paying people. So,
And on the
wow.
plus side, you now can reduce your churn rate, right? Because then you have people that are like, "Oh wow, you guys know how to handle this right from the beginning."
Right.
And so you're actually able to pick up more clients and get more work done because now you've created this little quality check thing that's going to in the very beginning. And so you can increase profitability just by following through and doing things the right way.
In my office, we talk often about creating a wow experience, and something like your first example, that's not a wow experience. That's a very uncomfortable, bumpy, you put friction in there, that
Yeah.
type of thing. Where the second one, where it went through nice and smooth and everybody's happy, you created a bit of a wow experience because they weren't expecting it to go so smoothly.
Yeah. And it builds
So,
confidence because when you're saying, hey, we're going to come out to your house between the hours of X and Y, and we need to do Z to your house for you, the person already knows, wow, you guys have been Johnny on the spot for everything so far. Yeah, cool, great. Let's do this. Let's make this happen.
so those are those, sometimes they're quiet, or we call them silent profit leaks. They don't sit on your P&L report. There's no flashing strobe light going, profit leak, profit leak. They're just silently leaking away
Oh,
and need to be
I'm
plugged.
sorry.
So you're
Like,
doing an amazing job of plugging a profit leak right there.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, it's interesting because on the other side too, like sometimes when there are workarounds, we call that the hidden factory. So maybe there's another opportunity to find something where your team is supposed to be following a process, but they do something else because they think it's more efficient or faster.
Okay.
Sorry, I just
Yeah, you
you
bet.
mentioned one thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, here's another one,
Yes. And profit leaks hide everywhere in a business. They hide behind doors, they hide in corners, they hide under desks, they hide everywhere. And you really have to go digging to find them. And clients are always surprised when we find these kinds of profit leaks sitting in their business. It's like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And we
Well,
can plug in them, and they do make a difference on that bottom line profit.
I was talking to a interior designer and she was looking at her P&L and her costs have gone up and the amount of work they're doing isn't quite there. And um, she found out that the team was basically, they take this one document and they turn it into 3 or 4 other documents. And so they're actually updating like 6 documents at a time instead of just updating the one document. And so all those hours and all that time, I talked to her and I kind of showed her what was happening. And she was like, I don't know why they're doing that. And I don't know how I got there. I was like, no problem, let's get this fixed. And
Let's
so
fix it.
we went back to the main document and we're focused on that. But it happens and it's it's a challenge and I think it's well intentioned and employers are doing the best they can, managers are doing the best they can. But getting someone with an outside perspective to kind of look at these things and walk through it, we're able to find those and it's
And
fun when you find those things.
the outside the perspective that doesn't feel emotional about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You're totally unbiased. You come in, you can spot something that somebody else is like, here goes the shield comes up. Wait a minute. I've always done it this way. Don't take
yeah.
my safety net away. That type of thing.
Yeah, but I think when they realize, even with those like process maps, when we looked at that Excel doc, the little Excel table that we built, one of the columns in there is frustration. And that's another way to kind of tackle that too a little bit is, hey, I know this is how the process runs. Like, how do you feel about it? Like, oh my gosh, I really hate it. You ever talk to customer service? Like, I hate when sales gives me an incomplete application. Great. Now we can put a number to it. Scale of 1 to 10. How frustrating is it? And so it's a good way to make your team feel better because then when we document this and we say, hey, we're trying to fix all of these leaks and we're trying to get rid of some of these frustrations that you have, this is the best time to look at this and do that. Um, we can, because we're looking at a map now, we can say, well, how does it make you feel when you have to do this? And we can get some feedback. And if you can keep your team happy, oh my gosh, I've been hired sometimes and people are like, don't touch this team. Like they run perfectly. I don't care what their complaints are. They're a sour sack of people, but they make so much money for the company. We just all work around them. But if you talk to them and say, hey, listen, you guys are working really hard and really it seems you guys are, not as content as you could be. Like, what do you think could change? They're like, man, nobody's ever asked me. I would love it if people could X, Y, or Z. And great, let's do that. And then all of a sudden that sour bunch that's making all the money, they actually are more participatory and more happy and you're less likely to lose those folks.
That increases your employee morale. You throw the little rock in the pond, now our little ripples come out, employee morale goes up, productivity goes up, revenue goes up, profits go up, and
Yeah.
everybody stays longer.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you get some nice ripples out of something like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We're almost at every aspect of the business here.
It's funny how interrelated things are in a
Yeah.
business.
Well, because
There's
people ask me, they're like, well, operations, like, what do you do? Like, and I'm like, well, it's the core of, it's like the human body. Like, what does a skeleton do, right? It does a lot. And everybody needs it. And it's something that's there. And whether you're someone in Australia or Africa or China or US, like, we still have a skeletal structure that kind of holds and
Mhm.
keeps all that together. That's what operations is to a business. We hold everything together and we help things function and run.
So what size of a business will generally hire an outsourced COO?
That is a good question. So I I personally deal with businesses from 500,000 to 5 million in revenue because they're the ones that get that initial win or that success and they're doing well, but the bus is catching on fire and the wheels are coming off. And so I think getting someone like me to kind of come in and help, I'm familiar with that stage of business.
Okay,
Once you get over 5 million, you've got another set of problems and another
I
set of
do.
situations. And
Mhm.
there's people I can refer and connect you to that will help you. But going to your original question, I think once you're starting to get into a place where you want to get to 1 million in revenue. Now, mind you, if you do construction and construction costs are factored
That's
in,
different.
then
Yeah.
yeah. But if you want to get to 1 million in revenue, then getting fractional or part-time executive person to help you think strategically, kind of jump in the car with you and help you plan the road and take on some of those hills is a great resource. I think that's if you're going to go for a million. If you want a lifestyle business and you only want to make a few 100,000 or a few, can keep your life simple and keep things easy, by all means, you can do that, figure that out yourself. But you get to a place where even when you hire full-time talent, most of those people are going to be doers because they need to execute all that work. You start stacking the deck with too many doers, you don't have enough strategic support to get that leverage, kind of getting that business angled at the right way up to grow and to basically overshoot that million in revenue. And that is like a little mountain. And so if you attack that mountain the wrong way, you're going to hit that.
Right.
Um, and a lot of clients that I've met that are stuck in a million, it's a Sisyphean effort. Every year they try different things, they try different things. And so a couple of them we've had to go back and kind of strip down to some of the core basics of what they're doing, get that infrastructure built up. So then when you build that up, you lift the whole organization up that's
Mhm.
founded on really strong foundation. And so they continue that trajectory. Now they're actually at a better angle. And so they're a higher angle. And so, you can get over that million revenue pretty quick. But it's definitely a process problem once you get to that
Yeah.
$1 million mark.
Well, I would think there's also an advantage of hiring an outside person as opposed to somebody within your organization because you bring the perspective of having worked with lots of different kinds of businesses over the years. And you see
Yeah.
similar things happening with these different businesses, and you've learned how to get around objections. You've learned how to get up and over the wall. You've learned how to do these things that you may or may not get by just putting somebody in your own company.
Yeah, and that's a common thing I think on when you look at the different fractional roles and what their challenges are. I think for an operations person, when I get into an organization, they usually have like an operations manager or someone that's in charge, and I'm using finger quotes. I'm not trying to be rude, but that basically is in charge of all operations and day-to-day operations, and they usually have been brought up and raised in the organization. And so for them, their perspective is, well, this is what it was and this is where we are. And so they're always referencing kind of where they were. And so as they raise in level and position, they need to be equipped with understanding how to look from the organization top down. And that's hard, especially when they know the people that they were working with or they used to
Right.
work with those people. So for bringing in a fractional operations person, what I try to do is identify that talent that they have internally. And then part of the offering is helping the CEO figure out what to do strategically, but also then equipping that person to be able to step up and take that role. And so I've worked myself out of a job numerous times by taking that operations person saying, hey, here's how we look at the organization top down from where you need to be and what you need to do. Here's the gap. Let's work on that gap and let's set up these systems and processes that you can run and manage so you can help the company grow. And I'm fine because I work with multiple clients. Here's the other side too. I work with multiple clients. So when one engagement ends, it usually means there's another engagement just down the road that's starting. And so for me, I love the businesses that I work with. I love seeing the passion and vision and creative ways that people build their businesses, the way that they manage their teams. I love seeing that. But that's their vision for their business. And I have my own business and my business is to help those businesses. So, we're going to be together for a journey for a season of life. You're going to grow on and keep going. Awesome. Let's equip you and let's get you going. And so having a fractional, now going back to any fractional spot, any person should be in a place to know where they are, how long they're going to be with you, and where those starts and ends are.
Very good. That was a very good summary. So thank you for that. Because I'm
Oh,
sure that
thanks.
question was floating around in somebody's head. Am
Yeah.
I big enough? Or what am I too big? Or, how does that work?
Yeah. And I think, there's actually on my LinkedIn page, there's an article posted. I was part of a group of hand-selected fractionals. We wrote a paper and it's peer reviewed about what it is to be fractional and when to hire people and a lot of these
Okay.
questions. So yeah, if you check out my LinkedIn profile and look at those articles, I think that could also help answer some of these questions for folks.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think this is a concept that not that many home service business owners are familiar with,
Oh, yeah.
is,
No,
bringing in fractional help for
yeah.
different areas in their business.
And fair enough, nobody knows your business as well as you do, but you're doing a business and you're doing a service that people are, there is a framework or a structure to it. And so yeah, there are people that can help you kind of bring in that skills and that fill that gap of knowledge. Because man, you've learned so much to get your business this far. That is awesome. You want to keep learning forever and ever, you can do everything and learn everything. But I don't know about you. I'm trying to get people to work less hours, right? And build a team that can run everything for them. So then, imagine if you could work 20 hours a week, check in with everybody, knowing that everything's being taken care of. And then you're still making the same revenue, or revenues keep growing. And
All right.
I mean, gosh, I
That's
would
amazing.
love to see more people do that.
Yeah, that's a dream business right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Josh, since this podcast is all about profit, plugging profit leaks, increasing your profit, being intentional about being profitable, I have to ask you, and I'm going to pull my little bucket over here. I'm going to wiggle some coins around. This is our proud to be profitable bucket.
That's awesome.
What is a hidden or unique profit leak that you see when you're working with home service businesses?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. Thank you for prepping me with this one. So, um, it's when the owner, after many years of building a beautiful business, getting a place where they understand the mechanics, but then they still jump on the truck and they go out on the site that they shouldn't be going to. I had one client, uh, uh I knew the comp controller really well, and she was like, son of a gun. And I was like, what happened? She goes, the owner just was looking at some blueprints and saw a job, and he knew exactly what the problem was because the team was spending a little extra time on it. He just got in the truck and drove off, and she was chasing after him, telling him to get out of the truck because the job was not worth his time. He was gonna, by the time he got out to the job, got set up, did his little bit that he needed to do, and then drive back, based on the hourly rate, what they charge for the owner to do this work, they were going to lose money. And so, um, if you have a comp controller, if you have an operations person, and you get in the truck and you go do these jobs that somebody else should be doing, they're not going to do as good as you, and it's going to take a little bit longer, but they're going to get the job done, and you've already costed this out. Just be mindful of what you're worth, what your value is, and by you jumping in and doing that for somebody doesn't allow them a chance to learn. It doesn't allow your team to learn and make mistakes and figure things out, and it will drive your accountant crazy because you're like, hey, you're that 6 hours you spent on that job site, just cost the company a few $1,000s. So
Yeah, I think that sometimes we forget how valuable we are to our companies and therefore how much our time is worth.
yeah,
When we could send one of the guys, whether it's a guy or a gal, doesn't matter, one of the guys out there to fix something at a much lower rate, much lower billable rate, and keep the job in the profit margins that we're needing it to stay in, and not
yeah,
let us be the crasher who comes in, swoops in, saves the day, and there
yeah,
went a zero profit on the job or even a loss because our time got involved.
yeah. And I
So,
know,
yeah.
and I know, like, the tactical piece of getting it done is, and the satisfaction of it is definitely there. But yeah, that's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. And one that I know that most, if not all, business owners struggle with from time to time. It's so hard to stay in your own lane.
Oh, I do it. I have a VA, and she's has all these wonderful tasks that she does, takes a lot off my plate, but every once in a while she's like, "Oh, I can't figure this thing out." And I'm like, "Oh, let me just do it real fast." And so I and I've told her a couple of times, I'm like, "I feel like I'm paying you to watch me do this." But we record it, and so she turns into an SOP, so it's not a complete waste of time, but every once in a while it's nice to get your hands dirty and to get in
It
there.
is.
So,
Yeah. Sometimes that little tactical, I got in and I fixed it and
yeah.
oh, that felt good.
Much better than being on the phone with payroll for an hour trying to get that sorted, or talking to your
Or
accountant.
Right, yeah. Or dealing with a customer service issue or whatever it is that you're having to do.
Yeah,
That's sometimes is very uncomfortable. It's
yeah,
so much easier to jump over and do something that we're good at and that's comfortable for us.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, staying in our own lane, knowing when to step back and let the team do what they need to do.
Beautiful.
Any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I'm very passionate about helping small businesses understand that the work that they do, they're providing a goods or service to a community, and the community needs them. And so we need more small businesses in our communities to build that resiliency. And I really want to make sure that people understand that as you grow, that value of that business is growing. And so be aware of that and be ready to pass that on to somebody else. I mean, how great that the next generation then could take that on and have that opportunity, all of that hard work and all those things you figured out, like pass that along and, plan for that exit and be ready to transition. Um, there's this thing called the gray wave right now where a lot of boomers are retiring or exiting and so we need that next generation to step up and take over these roles. Otherwise, everything will just roll up to some corporate outsider that's gonna doesn't know the community and isn't gonna hire the local kid and have that first job or first experience. They're gonna be dollars and cents, and all of that money is gonna flow out of those communities. Uh, so just know if you're a small business owner, you're part of the community. The community is there to provide workforce, to hire you for what you do, and build your business in such a way that you understand the value of it, you're very intentional with it, and that you'll be in a place to exit when that time comes.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us again, or for joining us today. What is the best way for somebody to reach out and make contact with you and your team?
Best way to reach me is I'm on LinkedIn and I'm very available. Joshua Monge. It's Monge for those that don't watch the video. I'm sure in the show notes you could probably put a link to my website. And the second way is my website. So it's thinkadaptbuild.com. On there, I've got resources. I've got different things to share with people. And if you want to reach out to me and book an appointment, I'm great. If you mention this podcast, like I'll give you a free hour of my time if you'd like, just to talk about anything and no obligation. No, I'm not gonna, overmarket you or anything crazy like that. I want to give back and help. So yeah, reach out to me and we'll get a time going.
All right. Thank you again, Joshua, for joining with us and for sharing your wisdom today, for being a giver and giving back into the home service industry. And for those of you that are loyal listeners, thank you so much for hanging out as we explored this amazingly fun topic of processes and systems and all those good things that come along with it. Well, that's it for today. We're going to call it a wrap. Be sure and check the show notes. We always have something free to give away. So check down there and see what is our current freebie that we have for you for this episode. Thanks again for joining us, and we will catch you on our next episode. Bye bye.